PKN episode 132. How is everybody?
Great. Pumped. Excited.
You know what's been on my mind? Milo. Milo is
into Milo.
Is in the doghouse right now. And I have been in the doghouse, and it seems like there's no escape online. You know, like everyone's talking about me everywhere I go, poking. You know, and like other YouTubers are making videos about me. It's the end of the fucking world. Everywhere dude, it is.
Did
nothing.
Simon & Schuster cancel your book publication too?
Now imagine it with CNN and Fox and MSNBC and HLN and PBS and NBC and ABC and all of them joining those YouTubers.
right.
There's cups, baby.
Turn on forget about it and be like, oh, you know, my problems aren't that bad compared to Syria or Somalia. What's going on? Dreadful, and turning it on, and it's like, you know, deranged British man. That's all they're talking about.
There is, everywhere I go, he is the number one topic. And, you know, I go on places that talk about politics, but yeah, he is. There is no escape unless he turns off everything electronic. He's
I was thinking about it today, like not even in regard to what happened, just like the response, like because of it, he is like bona fide for sure famous now. Like he is echelons above fame where he was when he came on PKA or when he did that podcast that everybody was referencing.
I think what you're saying is Painkiller already has been a magnificent launching board for his career.
I think, well, now that might not be the thing you wanted to tagline.
I mean, look, what he does with it is up to him.
When I just originally read the headline that he had said on a podcast something about underage boys, I was like, when I click this, am I going to be the one prodding him and going, really? So 13? I guess. I mean, hey, you were the victim. You would know better than anyone. Like, am I the one who's like, yeah, all right, sounds good. like I was like, let's see what it is.
Check the headline, and it's internet Russian, not Russian at all. Go the wrong way.
Russian connection to Milo's pedophile.
Ah, yes, you're the Russian connection.
No!
Dude, so for people who don't know, Milo's a provocateur, right? And his whole shtick, I wasn't quick to recognize it, but it's like, I'm gay, so I can talk about gay people. I fuck black guys, so I can talk about black people. You know, I'm gay, so I can talk about feminists. You know, you can't come back at me because I'm in my own group. It's like he says things that are provocative, but he has a shield because of who he is in his private life. And in addition to that, he's good-looking and charming, and he does like a naughty laugh.
And part of it is that, like, anytime you voice opinions like Milo voices, you get attacked in a very specific way. And it's always, hey, you can't say those things because you are you, not one of us. And here we have a guy who's one of them, as it were, at least in some regards.
Like, the whole climate of identity politics made it so that if you said something and the person you were saying it to, they don't like it, their first response goes straight to, you can't say that, like Kyle said, because of who you are, because your skin's white, or because you have a dick, or because whatever. Yeah. Those are pretty much the only two.
And Nobody also, he has a real knack for being charming and clever, and he has this snicker that's like, aren't I naughty? And naughty is the perfect word to describe it. It's like, you know, I know I'm being bad, but isn't it cute? You know, the way that I do it. And that was tremendously effective when he was talking about Gamergate, when he was talking about feminism, the wage gap, politics and religion. But apparently there is no shield from the pedo stuff.
There is. It just depends who you are. Again, he's getting attacked for the pedo thing because of who he is. There are plenty of other people who could have just gotten away just fine with what he said. I mean, you may have seen
only
that.
Only if they're priests.
Only if they're women.
No, Roman Polanski got away with it. People still want to do movies with that fucking pedophile.
Yeah. Did you? I guess maybe you saw Jim Norton's tweet.
Like, didn't Lena Dunham talk about doing stuff with her sister in her own book?
Yeah, she molested her sister when she was younger, and then they also, I saw them bring up, you know, anyone who's on Milo's side is of course searching for some hypocrisy in this attack, and so they go to the vagina monologues where, you know, then they pull a quote from that, and the quote is literally like, I was 13 and she was a much older woman, and it was a good rape. The words "good rape" are right in there. And then they show the headlines of the news agencies who praised the vagina monologues for being brave and going where other people wouldn't go. And it's the same ones that are, of course, attacking Milo. So, if you go to what he said, though, right, he was talking about himself being the child.
Although there's more to it. He said there's sort of two things that he talks about. One is, when I was 13, I took part in an interracial gangbang, and it was great. Right, that's part of what he says. Another part of it is when he was 14, he hooked up with a priest. I think the priest was 27. I might have that wrong. And that guy was fantastic. I give better blowjobs to this day because of the relationship I had with that guy. And then he says that in the gay community, this is, I think, the part that's the hardest to overlook, that it's like a common thing where there might be an adult who helps that child come of age and, find out who they really are.
So that was a common thing. I think his boy comment was more like, oh, it's common for, I'm not gay, so I don't know if it's actually common, but he was saying it's common for older gay guys to say about younger gay guys who are still legal, like not children, like 18, 19, 20, whatever. They'll call them like boys, not young men or something. Or I saw something about how he was making a
Woody's on target with this one. He said something that definitely looks bad, when taken out in any context, really. But the context I think it should be viewed in, even though we're dealing with this provocateur, is it was a late night podcast, and I believe he was maybe drinking. Like, God, think about the shit we've said that could be pulled out of context, Yes. Although he seems particularly genuine about this opinion. And like you said, he's from that lifestyle. That's what he's grown up into. He probably knows better than us. And it's not for us to, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but he's telling me at 14, I would have loved to have been taken advantage of by a 27, 28-year-old like student teachers. Well, not at that age, they're not a student teacher, a teacher. I remember Miss White. Miss White, God, she was so hot. She didn't have an education degree. She had merely served a certain amount of time in the military. And so that makes you a teacher these days, apparently. At least in Georgia. I had two teachers who had no teaching credentials. They had just been in the Army. One of them was Coach Hall, and he was angry, and he had a knee injury, and he'd get red-faced and scream. But the other was Mrs. White, and she was very attractive. And I would have loved to have been molested by Mrs. White daily.
I know all the jokes. You wouldn't in real life. In real life,
I would have. I was 14.
If you're a child, it is more traumatic.
I was 14. I wanted to fuck her in the asshole. These were the thoughts I had. It wasn't I wasn't having childlike delusions of, ooh, it'd be nice if me and Mrs. White were like boyfriend and girlfriend, and she took me out to dinner and we watched R-rated movies. My thought process was like, I hope she bends over a little further so I can see a little more thigh. Like it was constant, like dirty, perverted thoughts. There were no childhood
chasm between you wanting to see more ass crack and her abusing a power dynamic. But to the Milo thing, back to it in all seriousness, if you listen, I watched the clips and everything, and he has a totally warped view of reality in regard to that. It's a really warped, fucked up thing to say that he says flippantly. But I think the reason that he's saying that is it is tremendously common for people who were molested to retroactively change it to say, I wanted it. I desired that. I wasn't taken advantage of. I wanted that. And that gives them a little more control over it. And that's not uncommon with people who are molested. And from what he said in interviews over and over about, so you lost your virginity when you were very young. His first thing always is, yeah, but I wanted it. It wasn't like I was taken advantage of. I give much better head. Ha ha ha. Is everybody buying it? Are people believing? That's the vibe I get from it. Where he has a warped perception of things. Like a lot of people who are abused when they're young, they have a very warped perception of sexuality and how it works.
Of course, what constitutes abuse? Is the only thing that constitutes sexual abuse the age gap? Because what he's describing doesn't sound like sexual abuse.
Saying that it doesn't have. You can see what he's saying and say, obviously, that's a warped view of sexuality, of course. And also say, it seems like this is a person who was abused and that they're trying to rationalize their own
I've had
molestation.
That same thought, Taylor. And like you said, it's a real victim thing to sort of find a way to take control over it and some power. That's a thing. But I also have some thoughts with Kyle. Now, for me, it wasn't 14, but 16-year-old Woody, if some hot teacher fucked me daily, I don't think I'd be the victim. I think that I would That would be a trophy in my mental bookcase that I kept on into
to this
the
day.
rest of my
You'd
life.
be 40 years old and you'd be like, look, when I was 16.
Do you know the kind of tale I pulled? Everyone in that school
16,
wished they fucked her, but it was me, right? Like
I didn't even have a driver's license.
right now,
I was
14. He was 14, and I think that's different. And I think that's getting a little young.
14-year-old dudes, dude.
No.
Like you guys are forgetting what it's like to be a 14-year-old dude, and you're closer to it than I am.
You have perspective. The argument that you are transposing 30-year-old brain in there with all the
I'm remembering what happened when I was a 14-year-old boy.
All of the things you've learned since you were 14. You can't go back to what it's like to be 14. I can't. Woody can't. None of us can. So the argument of
I'm thinking of specific situations. I remember we were 15. It was summer break, and we were all blown away because one of our friends at baseball camp was banging this like 20-something-year-old like counselor or something like that. And we all understood completely what was going on there, that it was a sexual relationship, that he needed to use protection. Like we weren't fools. We were somewhere between man and children. Absolutely. And we were all like, man, we're so jealous. And we were all like, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. You can't tell anybody this. She'll get in trouble. You'll get in trouble and it'll stop. And everybody was like, yeah, lock this down. You know, Brandon is getting more pussy than anybody knows what to deal with right now. He's getting adult pussy. That chick has a job. Like we were blown away by it.
She can buy anything she wants at McDonald's.
Yes,
it's funny, but
the car.
Like Brandon, there's someone else out there who doesn't feel comfortable coming to anyone because there's a power dynamic. Yeah, absolutely. Like it's not. I will not make the equivocation that it's as damaging for a 27-year-old woman to fuck a 14-year-old boy as the opposite genders. Yeah. I definitely think that the man having sex with a young woman, I think that's much worse. But I don't know. The whole like I would like it thing just bothers me a little bit because you know that there are people out there who had that experience and now are like, this fucking sucks. Like, not only did I get molested, but nobody fucking cares. Nobody takes me seriously. I'm just made fun of. And people say, oh, you know what? You're lucky. You're lucky. I wish I was molested. I would have loved being molested. I had a hot teacher when I was 14. My God. Did you fuck a girl like it's just, I don't know. It's kind of,
I also
feel
like we're skipping out. Like, we're looking at this individually and applying Milo's experience, to other people. Milo's Milo, and he says provocative things and gets away with it because other people can, right? We talked about the identity politics. I think his whole like, oh, it's great when these old guys fuck young guys is something he thought he could get away with because he did it. And he says, well, I was the aggressor. It was great. I loved it. I feel like he's putting on a little shock value there and did not expect this reaction.
And another, like the way that he went, like, and part of it, like, I'm so skeptical of that people are doing, like part of me, like Inception is like, but what if he knows, what if he really doesn't think of himself as a victim in his heart of hearts and he is just playing up this victim card now as like a get out of jail free card because it was the only option left, the only road left to take, to change it from.
Is he doing that? Because if he's not, he should be.
I read his response, and it was heavily focused on the, I'm a gay guy and I was molested as a kid, and so it was like I don't know, it was immediately a very different angle. Mm-hmm. Which, if you had seen this angle before of him saying I was, or maybe he has said I've been molested before, but I liked it. Maybe that's the way he phrased it. I don't know. It's a very quick swap, and it's hard to tell if it's truly genuine.
Millions of dollars are on the line, right? So, like, he's going to say whatever he needs to say.
But he might not even know Taylor, right? Like, he might have unresolved feelings on this.
He would be so mad if you said that to him. He'd be like, I know what I know. You know what you know. How dare you question what I know? Like, I think we all know what we know, right? Like, it's easy to, be like, maybe he doesn't even know what he's saying. I think we just have to take people.
Fortunate childhood if you have no unresolved issues from yours. But
lots of turning know what your unresolved issues are. Like you don't even have that in, like you were saying, like you may have something from your childhood that's unresolved. It doesn't have to be like somebody beat your ass to a pulp and left you in like the rain one day. It could just be something where, I don't know, like something trauma. Actually, I don't know. Is there small trauma?
We all have childhood traumas that stay with us for life. It's part of having a life, you know? Like you'd be a very boring fucking vanilla ass person if some bad shit doesn't happen to you along the way. The bad stuff is what leaves its mark and makes us different and interesting and able to deal with more bad stuff as we go on when it actually matters. If you can get past that bad shit that happens from 0 to 18, then the 18 to 70 stuff gets easier and easier to deal with. In this guy's case, though, honestly, as I look at it, I'm like, he didn't say anything that bad, I don't think. At least he was. Now, if he had said, hey, there's a couple of 13-year-old boys down at the YMCA, and I'm going to tell you, they want it. They want it morning, noon, and night. When they see old Milo coming, well, they just bend right over. They know it's good. They're grabbing, they're reaching for the Vaseline. Like if he said that, whoa, back up, you fucking child molester. Like now we need to burn you at the stake. But what he said was, when I was a boy, I was the one on the receiving end, and I didn't mind a bit. And that's a part of gay culture, and like, to some extent, that an older man will sort of have a Spartan-like relationship with a younger boy and rise him up through the ranks of homosexuality, I suppose.
I think that's what like got him in trouble. That part where he tried, like instead of just sticking to his, I didn't have a problem with it, he tried to bridge it and make it seem like, you know, and this is what makes me once again think that it is unresolved stuff, is that he tried to bridge it and make it seem like, oh, it's not just me that it's okay with, you know, this is just something that happens. So if you think about it, I'm not even weird. Like it wasn't.
Maybe in some way, because I haven't heard him in context, I've only read the transcript. Maybe in some way he was taking a shot at the gay community, but being like, and another thing they do is like it's a part of what gay people do. Older guys and younger boys. That is the gay community. Because he takes shots at every little group, even the ones he corresponds to, or even the ones he claims to.
Basically, it comes down to like what he said. Like it's such a warped perception of sexuality that it's fucked up, and people from every side can see that. It's just a matter of like, why do you think he said that? Do you really think he said it because he's a pedophile, or do you think he said it because he's trying to rationalize something that happened to him in his past?
It could be that, or he could be entertaining, or he could be just drunk and just talking off the top of his head. And he's like, oh, let's talk about child molestation. The comment box is going crazy right now. They love that. You know, who knows? It's a real shame, I think, that when I feel bad for him because of the Simon & Schuster thing and because of the Breitbart job. You know, we don't really know Milo in any way, but from what I've read and seen, I don't think of him as certainly as a pedophile or someone who's engages in that. He's made it very clear he's interested in much larger, more powerful black men. I don't think we have to worry about Milo going after any young whippersnappers or anything. So, and I definitely feel kind of bad that it's
he normalized,
he's losing a lot of stuff,
and he did it, I think, because he likes being provocative. He gets a lot of attention, and he gets away with it because of his background. And this time, there was no getting away with it.
Not yet. It's not over yet. It's not over yet. We need to see that ABC tearful interview where he spells out the history of abuse and molestation that he suffered through, and then he talks about how he's learned to deal with that, and how his psychologist helped him understand that, helped him take power and take control of those harmful memories by using this technique. And then all of a sudden, maybe people won't care so much.
I'm curious where this goes, because yesterday I thought what you thought. I thought, you know what? This is just more attention, more goodness for him. Great, great, great. And then it was like, all right, book canceled. Well, that sucks, but it's okay, because the fucking documentary he's been making on this college tour is going to go to make $100 million, right? Now I feel like that thing is sunk. Now I feel like the book thing is sunk, and his Breitbart job is sunk, and so much is
gone.
What's that?
Yeah, he quit.
He resigned from Breitbart.
I know that. Did I not say that? Obviously.
Well, you said it.
I said it was sunk. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess.
All these things are gone. The book, the thing, and I also feel like it. You know, college campuses aren't going to want the pro-pedo guy like they used to. Maybe. This has been more damaging than I thought it was going to be yesterday. I thought that it was just going to be, we hate Milo. Yeah, you hate everyone. They still make money. We hated Glenn Beck at some point. But
I think, the book thing, because I saw that he said he's still going to release the book. And it's not like it's, 70 years ago where you need Simon & Schuster. You could just self-publish and sell it on Amazon, maybe even make more money. Who knows? Especially given the amount of popularity where a lot of people who don't give a fuck a huge amount towards or against him might just be like, you know what? Let's see what he's has to say. And they may read it and hate it, or they may read it and love it. But either way, they're buying a book.
You're right. Yeah,
And this current wave of coverage will only intensify, or at least flare back up when the book does release on Amazon or wherever the fuck. You know, they're like, the Dangerous Faggot tour has reached its climax. The you know, self-proclaimed pedophile or whatever CNN will call him is released his book, and yeah, I think it'll sell well. I don't think we have to worry about him being in the poorhouse. His star fell a few notches this week, and it wasn't because of something he did this week. It was because they dug up some stuff he said a while back, and that feels kind of shitty.
Like he
Did you hear the George Takei clip of George talking about pretty much the same thing?
George Takei says the same thing.
Yeah, he's like, when I was a boy, he's basically like, when I was a boy at summer camp, I don't remember if it was 12, 13, or 14, but there was this older counselor, and Howard Stern's like, and you liked him? Oh, yes, I liked him a lot. And he's just like, he's basically explaining how he had sex with this guy when he was a child, and this guy was an adult, and how I liked all of that, Howard. Yes.
It's like Milo's saying, you know, like this is not, it seems unheard of in the gay community, but you translate it to the straight community, and it sounds straight up criminal.
Yeah, and I feel like if you are a gay guy, I feel like every gay guy who's like a liberal and hates Milo, which is like 90% of them, is like, yeah, I did that too, but today's not your day, Milo. Down. Yeah. Like they're not nobody's gonna stand up for Milo from his community and be like, when I was, 17 and my boyfriend was 12, you're not gonna have a bunch of guys stand up and have that I'm Spartacus moment where like, I'm a pedophile. I'm a pedophile. Like that ain't happening.
That is a hill that no one wants to die on.
Yes. Yeah.
No,
exactly.
nobody's gonna do that.
Yeah, I really wonder how it'll turn out for him. Like obviously I feel like Milo's in the news more today than he's ever been. Ever.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's not good press. So is all news good news? Or all publicity good publicity, I mean to say? We will see how it plays out.
For him, it is, I think, because his like most staunch supporters are all people who are not all, that's too generalizing, but a lot of them are in like the whole every single bit of media that's not independent, online, whatever, is totally biased. And so to them, a lot of them, they're just going to see this as full circle of they condemned him because of what he's doing, and they went on a witch hunt, and so that proves that he's right, which explains why they're attacking him, which is why they had to go on this witch hunt, which explains why they're afraid of what he's saying, and like that whole cyclical thing. So maybe it doesn't like make his base bigger, but it seems like it's definitely throwing some red meat to those really devout people, like not intentionally, but it seems like it'll rally them up, just like anyone who's a big fan of someone, if that person gets attacked, like, look at any time a celebrity says something, no, not even mean to Beyonce, just doesn't prostrate themselves on the ground as Beyonce walks past saying, oh, my lady, look at the Bayhive on Twitter. If someone like doesn't shake her hand long enough when they meet, they're like, oh, who's this bitch? Like treating Beyonce like she's not Beyonce. You don't know who the Queen Bey is? Or like whatever, like they're screaming about, like people get very passionate when they have those kind of connections. So I don't know. I don't think he's sunk, but the Breitbart thing definitely looks bad. It looks bad and it hurts him, especially because it's Breitbart. Like Breitbart has just been a propaganda website for a while now. Basically just, the far, far right of far, far right. So for them to boot him, I don't know. There's so much stuff to do with it.
Yeah, I think he's going to be fine at the end of the day, though. I want to talk about UFC 209.
Okay.
It's a huge card. You've got Alistair Overeem and Mark Hunt fighting. I like to watch Mark Hunt fight because I like to watch the guys who don't look like they belong in their fight. I think everyone who's not like a professional athlete, like perfect specimen, like when you see someone go in there who looks like he could be a mechanic or just selling T-shirts on a Hawaiian beach. That's Mark Hunt, and so that's going to be interesting. You've also got the Khabib fight. He's fighting Ferguson. That's going to be huge.
That happens. That's the one to me.
We're going to pretend like it's going to happen. Schedule and everything, Taylor, and for everyone else's benefit. But shit happens is basically
March
the deal
4th,
all the time.
But that's the thing about MMA. Some guy can miss weight. We've gotten all the way up to like guy bumps his head on the bathtub as he's cutting weight. It's like the day before weigh-ins.
Yep.
And he hit his head because he slipped and
That's shitty. And then, of course, you had the rematch from last year, from a fight. The promos try to call it the fight of the year, but it was a fight of the year contender, I guess, between Woodley and Thompson, Wonderboy Thompson. So that's going to be really fucking good. That's for the belt too, because Thompson is the champ, right?
Is it just me? So if I was judged for that fight, I had Woodley winning. And then, if people don't know, on the 3 cards, Woodley won, and there were 2 draws. And it turns out that I never even saw a majority draw until that fight. If you have 1 win and 2 ties, I thought that'd be a win, but it's
majority draw.
Yeah, since both judges felt like it was a tie, you just sort of throw out the one where he won. But in my eyes, he won. I thought if I was a judge, I'd have had him winning. And,
you thought Woodley won?
Just as Woody the judge, right? Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they get it wrong.
I want to be sure which one you thought won. Yeah,
right. Woodley, the big, strong black guy. I thought he won. Also, I feel like Woodley has the tools to beat him, and just for some reason didn't. Like, he stopped doing takedowns, and Woodley did more damage in my head. You know, he had Wonder Boy like flash knocked out. Knockout doesn't win the fight, but still he knocked him out. You know, I thought. And I just see this one, Woodley being like, all right, motherfucker, you're a slow learner. This time I lay it down. And I hate Woodley, but I think Woodley smashes him.
I'm looking forward to it. I think Woodley wins too. I just think he's the stronger guy. And you know, that's what usually wins. Like the stronger guy wins every single fight unless the weaker guy does something special. You got to come up with some way to get around that big strong guy.
I hear you. I feel like, isn't reach the new thing? Like, Anderson
it depends
Silva had a bigger reach than
it's
everyone
how you
he
use
fought.
your
Conor
toolbox.
McGregor
Not what's
has
in
a
it.
longer reach than everyone he fights.
I watched an old fight last night. It was Tim Silva versus versus this guy with kicks. This 6'3" monster who had these crazy kicks. Okay. And Tim Silva was like, I'm gonna fucking grab you, put you against that cage. I'm gonna fucking tire you for 2 rounds and drag you into the mud. And then when round 3 came around, Silva was not an athlete per se. He was just a giant. And his boxing, I've never seen a man that big box. And at first it looks awful and awkward and terrible. But what you got to think is, like, there's no need for him to wind up. There's no need for his punches to come from back here. His punches can start right here because there's plenty of elbow to extend. And he's boxing with his arms already extended because they're so he's just tip, 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 tip. And he fucked that guy up. That was fun to watch. I enjoyed watching. And then I think the main event for that night, this is like an 8-year-old fight, was Anderson Silva fighting Rich Franklin?
Chris Lieben or Rich Franklin, maybe?
I think a white guy.
A white guy? Yeah, Chris. That's both of them.
Maybe it's Rich.
Was he really good looking?
Yeah, Rich Franklin.
Then it'd be probably Rich Franklin.
Yeah, I think it was him.
Chris Lieben, rarely called very good looking.
Rich took a real beating that night. I think it was the rematch of a fight between them. It was. He was defending his title for the second time against Rich Franklin, I guess. And that was wonderful to watch. After watching that, I was like, they need to get Anderson on TRT. Let's just do it. Let's get him on. Did they? Is he currently?
Well, so here's
he
the
should
thing.
Be, is what I'm saying. He's 40-something. Let's get him back into like. Fucking,
so Anderson
pump him full
Silva,
of chemicals.
He needs it.
Like 5-6 years ago, Anderson Silva was on MTV Cribs, and he took him for a tour of his house. And when they showed him like the kitchen pantry, he had all these boxes of syringes and shit. And everyone is like, "What the fuck is with your syringes?" Now, there's no diabetics in his family or in his house, right? And you know. Are there any diabetics in your house, Kyle?
No.
Do you have syringes laying around?
I don't think there's a single syringe in my home.
Right? I don't know where I go to purchase a syringe. I've never bought one.
I don't have any syringes laying around. Like we don't inject people or whatever.
A turkey baster. You can get strong quick. One dose of that.
We got turkey baster
in there
and rubber gloves. Yeah. We do shit in bed. But yeah. So anyway, he had all these syringes, and people thought like, "What the fuck is he taking? What's up with that?" And then about like 4 years later, he got busted for whatever performance-enhancing drug he was busted for. And the theory is that he was on something throughout that whole title reign.
Sure, I'm okay with that. I don't care anymore. That was a long time ago. Yeah, it sucks that he did it. I wish he hadn't done it then. But what we're talking about is what we have now, what we have to work with today, and that's a 40-something-year-old Anderson Silva who's got a bit of a dad bod thing going on.
He always did, but yeah, more now.
And that fight last night, his back was just. I had the benefit of watching him fight like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then watching him fight last night from 8 years ago. Man, he looked so much more muscular, and cut and defined, and much less fat. I'd love to see. They should stick him on TRT if he needs it, if he qualifies for it, and speed those hands up a little bit. Get him.
You're looking
for
Bellator. That's the TRT league.
No, but I want Silva on it. Like Silva's the only one because I feel like he's gotten smart. Oh, I want Rogan too. I won't watch Bellator fights just because Rogan's not there. I don't like the Bellator. Really appreciate Rogan being there. It's a big deal for me. Like I watch even the announcer. The announcers aren't as good. The refs, I like knowing the refs. I know most of them now. It seems like it's. I really prefer the UFC. I like the Dana White dynamic. Everything about it's a different kind of show for me than if there's just a really specific matchup I want to see. Like I went and watched Cyborg's fights over on
Invicta, maybe
Invicta, something like that, and I was watching it like, this feels like low budget pro wrestling a little bit. This feels like WWE with like half the budget, and even the belt looks kind of shitty, and I don't know. I just wasn't into it as much. I need to feel like we're here seeing a thing. And when what's his name, the announcer for the UFC,
Bruce Buffer, yeah.
When he comes out, God, he's so good. He's got a torn ACL in his knee or whatever that's been torn forever.
Bruce Buffer does?
Yeah, he tore it in the ring doing like a 360, doing like a 360 announcement. Like he's like, and now it's time. And like in the middle of it, he like jumps and does a 360 and lands like with a wide stance. He's like, time. And he tore his fucking ACL and like didn't flinch or anything.
Was it like one of those like Aragorn scenes, like in Lord of the Rings, where Aragorn, when he kicks an Uruk-hai helmet in one of the scenes? Because in Lord of the Rings, it wasn't the Hobbit. They still had fucking armors makers, blacksmiths making armors. So it was a real heavy Uruk-hai helmet. And they told him to kick it. Yep, at a workshop. And Aragorn, Viggo Mortensen, kicked it. And he broke at least one toe, maybe a couple, and he just screamed because of that. And that's the one they used. They used that one. And you know what?
Finds the Hobbit's belts
because you have to finish it. That scene, like I bet as a professional actor, as soon as his toe hit and broke, he like had that like snap understanding of like, if I don't get it right this time, I will have to kick it again. And I will have to kick it with my left foot. And Aragorn will look like a 6-year-old girl kicking an Uruk-hai helmet, frustrated that he can't find his little friends in the forest. And so I got to sell it here.
Or kick it with his broken foot, which maybe sucks more.
Yeah, it's just Aragorn's kind of a bitch. He barely kicks that thing. Like,
right.
Like,
I'm playing fasciitis.
Dude, have you ever seen Bruce Buffer like interviewed and stuff like outside the UFC? He is the biggest douchebag to have ever douchebagged. He is. Oh my God, he is so arrogant. He is so full of himself. He thinks that what he's doing, and look, I get it. He does it well, and he does it maybe better than anyone.
Yes. But his brother, right? His brother's the best, right?
Danny Buffer.
Michael Buffer. But you just have to experience how full of himself he is. I think even if you had a tolerance for arrogant people, he would just burst that fucking tolerance wide open.
See his abs.
Oh, his abs are. People don't know he had a liposuction where they sucked up around the fat to give him abs. So now he has fat abs. Like,
I heard it was implants. I thought that's
they put little Ziploc bags full of silicone or silicone, whatever in there.
Well, it's not. I heard
I'll
that
just
he
go
got
with what I read
actual
on the internet.
Then you don't. We were told by a source once, I believe, that he got implants in there, and apparently he shows up to like these UFC events and like any kind of an after party or like, every time there's a UFC event. I don't mean that it's a fight. It's just a UFC related event. It might be like a charity auction or some shit. He's always got like whores with him, like actual escorts, like with big tits and like bimbos, like they're going for like the bimbo look. Like that's what he's into. Like huge fake titted, like trashy women on each arm, huge fake abs and that big voice, and he's walking in. You know, he makes
no bones about it. Like, yes, I am getting laid tonight. Oh, yeah, obviously I paid for whores. This is my night. You should all know I hooked this up for me. And I think a lot of other people might hide it.
We need to talk about this photo that you linked because he's wearing pants and tennis shoes by the pool, which is odd. Also, you know that scar people get if they had like appendicitis in 1986.
Yeah, right down the middle.
It looks like he was born with some horrible dysfunction where he had 7 appendixes and they all just went off at the same time and they had to get in and just be like, fuck it, we don't care about scarring, save this guy's life, there's an announcer.
We've got a quadruple appendectomy in room 3. It's crazy.
And then like then like
fake ass.
Dana White goes in with like a recording thing. It's like, just real quick, just say it's time. No, we can do the rest in post. Really don't need you anymore. 2017, what a year.
That's a good photo of him there. I think he looks good in that photo, quite frankly, especially for the man's age. And those ladies look real nice. It's like he's having a good old time.
So this is what happens. People say all plastic surgery is stupid. Obviously, that looks fake to me. That looks fake to me from a mile away. But what you need to compare it to is the hypothetical non-surgery thing. If he had just had, instead of a 6-pack, a keg, then I don't know that he'd look better. He'd look normal, but not better.
He might look I don't know, like that is one of those where it's so obvious that it's fake that it's distracting. Like, if he actually was like a big muscly workout guy, like he'd have some pecs there. Like that matched the level of intensity unless he only does ab day.
Now he does have his arms wide, right? Like no, they're by his side. He has no excuse for. Look, he doesn't look symmetrical. What we're talking about here is like a 60-something-year-old man, though, right? Like I think he looks. Yeah, right. He's. How old is Bruce Buffer? Let's see. How old is Bruce?
For 60, he looks good, but also a career of briefly talking will do that to you.
He is 59. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
59.
That's pretty like, damn good for 59.
Sometimes these bad plastic surgeries might look better than Father Time.
Especially in real life.
I think Donald
Trump's
hair looks bad. I think Donald Trump's hair looks bad. But Donald Trump might look better than he would with the male pattern baldness thing going on.
Or bald, like with
a monk.
I wouldn't.
Totally bald. Maybe he pulls that off in some sort of Kojak fashion. I don't know.
Fuck Dr. Evil, I mean, then he really is filling that role of Lex Luthor. Then, right? Like if he's the bald billionaire who became president, like.
But that wacky one of a kind thing he has going on now might beat male pattern baldness, especially if it's the sort where like it's bald, but they've got the one little survivor up front.
You're totally right that it's better. I think it's objectively better than the old man like liver spots because he's definitely hiding a couple of developing at least liver spots under that thin hair. Like because that is his hair. Oh, he's 70. Like he's getting old. Like it definitely is going to look. He'd rather have like wispy hair like he has than Gorbachev head. Like, how distracting must that have been when you're trying to negotiate? Where you'd be like, and so do we have deal? It's like, I'm so sorry. Can you repeat everything? Like, I have no idea.
You ever see that Naked Gun movie?
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
You ever see the Naked Gun movie where Leslie Nielsen in the opening scene? It's like Gaddafi and like Gorbachev and all the like axis of evil from the 80s or whatever. And all of a sudden, fucking Frank Drebin like tears off his mask and starts beating the shit out of all of them. He gets Gorbachev in a headlock and he goes, I always wanted to do this. He goes, and fucking wipes the birthmark off. I knew it. That's great. Saddam's over there. He decks Saddam. That's great. I like Leslie Nielsen.
Oh, I love the airplane movies.
Yeah,
like they're just enjoyably silly.
Yeah, I like the I like all that shit. I like all of his goofy movies. But yeah, this UFC card is gonna be really good. I hope it happens. I hope we get all of those fights. The one I want to see the most is the Habib fight. I want Nurmagomedov, whatever his last name is.
I don't know.
Nurmagomedov. None of us got even close, by the way. I want to see that fight more than anything.
Evans. Be interesting to see him come back.
There's a name I can pronounce.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of vowels, nice and easy.
Dude, the Duffy from the prelims, the last fight in the prelims, that guy, like, he knocked everyone out his first couple fights. Real interesting. I think he took a time off and he's coming back.
Duffy. Yeah, I'm looking at this guy now. Oh, what a scary motherfucker. I guess they all are, right? Like,
yeah, but
every now and then you click a guy's picture and you're like, oh, I think he kills people for a living.
Especially, like, I think he's a heavyweight, right?
He's a big motherfucker.
This guy, like, you just have to, a lot of heavyweights, they're not cutting stuff. This guy had, like, cuts to make 265. I made that up, but I think it might be true.
6'3", 260.
He's very bad looking. Like, he looks like he kills people for a living. He's fun
really,
to watch.
really, really scary face. I definitely want to see that, but it's definitely Ferguson and Khabib that I'm interested in. I like the guys that I like that weight class or anything around that weight class. I feel like when they get a certain size, start slowing down, and their techniques don't look as crisp and clean, and it feels more like a brawl, which is what you get with the heavyweights most of the time. I can't think of any heavyweights that I've ever thought were like, wow, look at that guy operate. Like, he's just when I see Conor out there, like. I saw a GIF today on Reddit of him. There was something about Conor maintaining the correct distance with someone he was fighting, and he so quickly, like, as the guy charged in and threw a combo, it was, and Conor was backwards, out of the way, just out of reach, and immediately back in with a combo of his own and pop, 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 hit the guy. And it's like, yeah, you don't see that out of the heavyweights.
Am I the only
they're
one
just too big.
that feels like, oh, Conor, yeah, I remember that guy. He was good. Like. I Conor used to fight all the time. When was his last fight? I guess Alvarez. That wasn't that long ago. It was before the election, though, right?
Yeah. Conor's got to be careful here. I feel like because we're about to. This fight's coming up, right, between Khabib and Ferguson, and those are the number 1 and number 2 contenders in Conor's weight class in the division in which he still holds the belt. One of these guys is going to get on that mic after this fight and call him the fuck out. He's going to be like, all right. Now it's time. I beat this guy, beat that guy, beat this guy, beat that guy. There's nobody left. It's just you over there. So you can hide and say you're going to box all you want. But over here where the real fighters are, we're calling you a pussy, or we're saying you're running because we're in here fighting and you're out there doing some babysitting or, on some pre-paternity leave, right? Who ever heard of such a thing? Like, hey, I'm okay with paternity leave, I guess. Like, sure. Everybody seems to be okay with that. But
dude,
pre-paternity leave?
Here's what I want to happen. I want Khabib Nurmagomedov to beat the fuck out of Ferguson. I would like that. And then hand the mic to Chael Sonnen to do his trash talking for him, right? And then Chael just come on there like, this is Khabib. He's the man with the arms, the man with the charm, the man in this, the ladies swarm and the bad guys warned.
Didn't climb down from the mountains of Dagestan to whip some Puerto Rican tonight. I came for the Irish punk they call Conor McGregor. Like he needs to get out there with that.
Yeah,
sure.
Like, dude, he would get out there and that would be so great. Oh man.
I don't like that in sports as much. Like, I wouldn't like that as much because I like in sports interviews and bickering between players in English who don't speak English well at all. There's nothing I love more than seeing like a post-game interview and being like, oh, good. Like, a Russian got first star of the game, and this guy played in the KHL last year, so this will be a doozy. Trying to understand what he's saying. Like as he like turns to his trainer from Cleveland, being like, "You give me him here?" Like, no, I don't know Russian either, dude. Fucking Cincinnati. But yeah, I like shit like that. And then all like the Japanese baseball players. There's some great Japanese baseball player interviews that are hysterical. But yeah, like, we were talking about.
Be fun, Kyle. I will ask you this: you're looking at the card, right? Do you have it in front of you?
Yeah, I have it in front of me. Yeah.
Okay. You're following MMA a lot. Surely you're familiar with this concept of the MMA gods. You have to sacrifice something to get the fight you want.
Well, the most important one for me is the Ferguson-Khabib fight, and then after that, I want to see Woodley Thompson, and then after that, it's on Overeem.
Let's say that the bigger the sacrifice, the more likely you get what you want. Would you sacrifice Overeem?
Yeah, I would. Oh, I'd sacrifice Thompson and Woodley to get the Khabib fight. Yeah, the Khabib fights that to me that's the
one-fight card to you. It seems.
There are 3 fights that I want to see, but the Khabib fight is the main card for me. It's the whole show because a lot is, it's the Conor thing, how that plays into this, and it's also Khabib's undefeated. He's thought of right now as some sort of god. His fans, the ones who are on on Joe Rogan's Instagram, blowing him up like he's the one who makes the fights or something. Like his fans think he's God. His fans think that like he's the new hottest thing that is not getting the respect he's owed. So
we'll see. I can't think of another champion who's based on grappling. I mean, it seems to me that all the very top guys kind of punch while walking backwards. Like that's what Conor does. That's what Silva does. I guess that's not what Bisping punches while walking forwards. Jose punches while walking forwards. But
Silva's a real counter puncher. He's almost in his own thing. Like I love. I think that's why I like watching him. He spends like that first round, and Joe baby walks every fan through this. He spends that first round measuring the guy and testing the guy with feints and stuff like that. He'll fake a feint and then he'll watch. What do you do when I do that? Oh, you do that. Logged. And then we dance a little more. What do you do when I do fake real punch? Oh, you do that. Logged.
Noted. Yeah.
and then round 3 comes around and he does that thing again, but he knows what you're gonna do. He already knows what you're gonna do, and he has a plan for that. And the blow is coming as you move into it. It's really fun to watch that guy. You're right though. It seems like there aren't many guys that have a similar background to Khabib, but it seems really tough.
GSP
he
won
can't
with
strike.
grappling
He's got that background. I don't know much about that martial art, but seems like he can strike. He certainly knows how. It's just, I don't know.
Taylor.
Matchup against first.
St. Louis is going. They're trending towards making the playoffs, even as a top 6 seed. I guess they're going to be somewhere between 3 and 6 as a seed, right?
Yeah, they'll probably be. I'm hoping that. Well, we're not going to get first in the division. Minnesota's running away with that, and Chicago will get either second or third. I would rather.
Oh, that game's about to start. Blackhawks are playing the Wild tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to watch that
a little bit closer.
Yep. I don't think Minnesota's just real fucking good this year. Their goalie is unstoppable right now. Devin Dubnyk. I don't know where the hell he's from. Looks like some Scandinavian place, but he's playing great. The Blues, I hope that we make it as the first wild card seed, because it would be nice to fucking finally play a team that's not from our own division in the first round. Like, it seems like it's been years where every time it'd be like, oh, who are we playing? Is it Minnesota or is it Chicago? It's Chicago. It's Minnesota. Oh, it's Chicago again. Oh, it's Chicago again. Oh, it's Chicago again. Oh, Minnesota. Like, it's like, I'd like to see someone else. But yeah, I'm glad that we lost the last 2, because we were on a 6-game winning streak, and our GM has a history of being stupid and being like, instead of being like, yeah, we need to sell and make sure we have a real good team next year to make a better run, he'll be like, no, we can do it. We can pull this out. We're not selling anybody. We're not trading anybody. We're going to acquire new players. We're going to make a rental trade. And then we go in and we lose in the first round. And he's like, oh, I guess we weren't as good as I thought we were. And so if we had won 8 in a row before this bye week where the Blues don't play at all, and this is the only week left in the trade deadline, I bet he would have thought, oh, yeah, I'm not trading Shattenkirk. He's great on D.
You're going into the bye 8-0.
We're going into the bye week 8-0. We're doing great. But because we lost those last 2, I'm hoping that was enough for him to be like, okay, we had a nice little streak. We got to trade Shattenkirk before we lose him for nothing, or the entire city of St. Louis is going to kill me, because it is getting out of control how many people we just let show up in St. Louis and then be like, all right, we're leaving. Do you want to trade us for something? No, take care. Like,
you keep wanting to do better next year, but if you were a Canes Flyers fan, you might just be like, make the playoffs. Get us a fucking rental that will help us get the 8th seed so we get to play in a championship for Lord Stanley's Cup. Wouldn't it be nice to be playing,
like over time you're like put into different like subsections of fandom, because the Reddit that I spend the most time on, far and away, not even close, is the hockey one. And like a Penguins fan, if they go on like a 2-game losing streak and you go over to their subreddit, or a 3-game losing streak, they won the Stanley Cup last year, they're very good, they'll be like, oh god, like these players are playing like shit, like we're just not the same team we were last year anymore, It's not like we have fucking Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, playing for us still. It's we're struggling. Whereas like Buffalo, who has been so bad for so long, or Edmonton. Edmonton's a better example. They've made the playoffs in a decade. And so this year, when they're not even like superstar going to win the cup favorites at all, they're just going to make it.
You mentioned Sidney Crosby, and he sucks. Carry on.
Okay, fine. But Buffalo, Edmonton, ththose fans have been put in the gutter for so long that, like you're saying, just the very prospect of like, hey, you might make the playoffs this year. We might? You might lose in 4 games. You might get swept and humiliated. No, it's fine. It's fine. Just
yes!
there will be 2 home games here for me to watch us lose, right? Like that's all that they want. But the Blues have been middling for so long that making the playoffs isn't good enough anymore, because we've made the playoffs by percentage more than any other professional sports franchise of all the 4 major sports. Like they make it all the fucking time. But we never make it to that next level. If we made it to the Stanley Cup and lost in the Stanley Cup, people would be disappointed, but that's so much further than we've made it in so long. People would still be like, oh, fuck yeah, that was a really good season. Just like last year, people overall were like, yeah, we lost in the conference finals, but it was a good season. We haven't made it that far in 20 years or whatever, 15 years. So, yeah, I really hope.
I think you traded off all your best players so that you could be better in the future, and now you're worse. You want to trade off another one so that you can be better in the future, but you'll get even worse.
Well, no, this isn't the guy to trade off. Like the thing with him is he's the most valuable free agent this year. Kevin Shattenkirk, our defenseman, one of our defensemen. Mm-hmm. We have 3 incredibly good right-handed defensemen. Most teams don't have that luxury. You know, we don't have a ton of left-handed defensemen that are that good, but all 3 of our best are right-handed, and that guy Shattenkirk, who's really high value right now, his contract's up after this year anyway, and we don't have enough to sign him because he's on like a $5 million contract, $4 million contract right now, and he's going to demand like 7, and we can't afford him. And so it's either we trade him now and get something, or we go to the playoffs, we won't win the Stanley Cup, and then he leaves in the offseason for free. And so it's basically like, you know, we got to trade him while, you know, strike while the iron's hot. So it's not like we're trading a really good guy with 7 years left on his contract like Tarasenko. But yeah, I'm high hopes. That's what I check like every 15 minutes all day, it seems like, on my phone. Like, any trades? No? Okay. Any trades? No? Still no. Huh. You fuck. God damn it. Like, and then like
the Flyers, would you trade Giroux?
Giroux? No. No, I don't think so. I think he's only like 29 years old, which is starting to get up there for hockey.
33 when the team is good. He'll be, you know.
Yeah, but he's still producing so well that like if he had a big drop off, that's true by his standards, but it's only a bad year for Giroux because the past 5 years he's been like probably top 5 best players in the NHL. Like Giroux's consistently good each and every year. I really like Giroux. So I don't know. I like him on the Flyers, so I don't want to see him traded. But I don't know. He's like one of those leaders that when you see him get traded, you know they have to feel bad because like 8 years ago or whatever, they're like, all right, Giroux, you're the guy we're putting in charge of this Flyers franchise. Make us proud. And then if like 9 years later, they're like, all right, well, how's Winnipeg sound, Claude? Like he's going to be like, God damn it, I failed. Like I was the pilot that they put in charge and I couldn't make it count.
Yeah, it's a team sport.
It is. Oh, yeah, for sure. And it sucks. God, he has to be so livid every day, being like, this is such horse shit that we have to play the Penguins so often. And right when I get on the team, the Penguins.
Not a big deal.
It's not even an argument. They're so much better than the Flyers. It's not close. Like the only like little things that like the Flyers fans will post is like, we've beaten the Penguins the last 5 times at home, 5 in a row, fucking Penguins. And then the Penguins will be like, you realize we won the Stanley Cup last year and like we win all those other games. Like all the other ones in the other 29 cities in North America, we win most of those. Like, I don't know. I like the Flyers because they're out east and they're easy to like because the Blues don't play them that much. The Blues are the reason the Broad Street Bullies came into being. If you didn't know that, that's a little hockey history. Did you know that, Woody?
I'm looking up the all-time Flyers versus Penguins series.
So basically, the way the Broad Street Bullies came into being. So the Broad Street Bullies, Kyle, if you don't know this, it was a team of Flyers where they decided, like, we're not that great at hockey, but we will beat you to death on this ice. You will be afraid to play against the Flyers. To the point that they did an exhibition game against Team Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union just fucking left after the second period because they're like, this is not hockey. They just come out, they swing, they hit, they punch, they bite. They don't even play the game.
The Soviet Union came out and they beat every NHL team. They played the Flyers last. And it was just like, well, fuck, we thought we were good at hockey. Turns out this Soviet team better than everybody. And then they met the Flyers, and the Flyers beat the fuck out of them, both with their hands and in the scoring.
On the scoreboard, because the Russian team was just like, put our line out there. Everybody else, go to the locker room. We're not going to ruin all our best players for this exhibition.
That's not even true. Their best players were out there. They were just cowering in fear.
I'll have to rewatch some clips because, like, I feel like in that locker room before that match, the Philly coach had to be like,
"That's what he should have been."
Like, how many of us think we can win if we go out there and play the kind of hockey I know we're all capable of? And they were like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Wrong, no chance. Let me repeat to you, Captain, no chance you are going to beat Team Soviet Union out there if we play hockey. We are going to box them. I have brass knuckles box. You will put those under your gloves.
Pass out those rolls of quarters. Yeah, everybody take a roll of quarters."
Taylor's not really giving the Flyers credit. I think they might have been defending Stanley Cup champs at this point. I mean, they were a very good team.
They were good. Or I don't remember what year that happened. So that was when they were more established as the Broad Street Bullies. But the reason that they came into being the Broad Street Bullies is because of the St. Louis Blues. Did you know that?
I think you told us before.
Yeah, where the Blues were a team where they just weren't good enough to win real hockey, and so they just beat the shit out of teams. And eventually the Flyers were like, this sucks. We should be the team that beats people up. They're like, that seems like a lot of fun. St. Louis seems to be enjoying it a good bit. Like, we're going to be that team now. And so they did, and they were that team for a while.
Yeah. They were the greatest thing. The trouble is they're not anymore. And as a Flyers fan, you could, for like decades, you could hang your hat on the idea that even if you didn't win the game, you could have beat the other team up. Like that was a truth. And like even into the 90s and stuff, usually oftentimes the toughest guy in the NHL. Like I thought Donald Brashear was took a turn as heavyweight champ in my opinion. And he's playing for the Flyers. And they always had a guy. And our good players like Wayne Primeau or Keith Primeau and Eric Lindros and stuff, like they're not just good at hockey. They also can beat up 95% of the league, right? They're stars that can hang with tough guys, and that was always like a Flyers thing. People didn't want to come to Philadelphia. That was not a good night. Even if you won the game, lousy night. And now the Flyers are just a regular team.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like if you look through history, I'm not as versed on it as you because I didn't follow them. But the Broad Street Bullies is the coolest era for them. But it's almost like if they tried to go back to that right now, they would only guarantee that they'd continue to be the worst team in the league. Because now, like with technology being so good, with like skates and sticks and just the ways trainers know how to get you like to a science almost to be as fast as possible. Like you can't just put an oaf out there anymore. Mm-hmm. Like they fucking catch the guy they're trying to get in a fight with. The guy they're trying to fight with might pick up the puck, skate over and make a nice pass, go to the slot, pick up another pass, do whatever they're doing, and then just skate to the bench for a shift. The other guy will be like, God damn it, he's quick. Like,
our captain was this tough guy. His name was Bobby Clark. Not big, but tough as hell. And he used to have to soak his body in something that gave him awful, terrible, just unseen bad breath, right? Whatever it is he soaked himself in had like halitosis times 10 as a side effect. And he loved it. He would just bad breath people like against the boards and shit. Like all the time. Like that. I love that. That's so fucking Philly. And
here's a picture of this tremendous athlete.
Oh my God. That was gingivitis. That's all that was.
Here about like athletes who don't look like they should be athletes. I'm going to link you now really Stanley Cup champion and NHL All-Star, multiple-time NHL All-Star Phil Kessel, who looks like he won a radio sweepstakes to get into the locker room.
Yeah,
if you out there, like if you watch him play, it is astounding. He plays with, so flex is something on a stick, where with composite sticks, if it's a really high number, it means it's hard to flex, so you're going to get more power on a slap shot. If it's really low number, like a 70 or something, it's going to be like a noodle or something. So if these guys try and take a slap shot, it'll just break. So it's like really quick bend and flip wrist shots. This fat guy, let's be honest, he's really muscular too because he's in the NHL, but he's a heavy guy.
He looks like the husband who's married to an unusually hot chick in a sitcom.
He does. He looks like after before his stint with the Toronto Maple Leafs, he was in King of Queens, popular show.
Yes,
driving a UPS truck, yeah.
But he uses the lowest flex stick of any player in the NHL to the point that they'll like do little things where it's like, oh, other NHLers try and use Phil Kessel's stick and they try and shoot it and they just break it. But you watch this guy shoot it and he's got it down to like a fat guy's science of like he puts like the perfect amount of flex on the stick and then in like a tenth of a half of a second just snaps it forward like it's some sort of trap. Dude. Or like you snip a cord on a bridge and it just whips forward. I love
it. It sounds like his shots might not have the speed, but he's getting them off quicker.
They're pretty quick. He gets them off fast. He's a good goal scorer. And he's an American.
When I played beer league hockey, it was funny because I played with a really flexible stick because I'm a normal person, right? And but then, like, some of my teammates, or being better with people I played against, they'd be like, yeah, this is the same flex that, like, I don't know, Eric Lindros uses or something. Or he probably played with a wooden stick. And it's just like, yeah, but you're not him. You're not him. You're not a professional athlete. You don't spend your days in the gym. You spend your days at a keyboard. And, all you have is what is effectively a steel pipe there that you don't flex at all, and your shot sucks. I'll use my women's league stick and get good snapshots off.
Yeah, it's not worth watching for like for the most part, but this is just beer league people trying to use Zdeno Chara's stick.
Oh, I've seen this.
Chara, he's the guy who's 6'10", and his flex, like they make a special stick for him because his hands are too big for the normal girth of a stick, so they have to make an especially big stick, which means that his flex is a number that like if a normal sized person got the flex number of his, it'd be like playing with rebar. Basically, like people try to like even bend his stick. It's impossible. That guy,
he's on the stick is 8 feet tall. It's 7, no joke.
It's enormous. It's an enormous stick because he's like 7 feet tall, probably 7'1" in his skates or something. At least 7 feet.
Yeah, I've seen this video before. I see them try to bend it, and they can't play with it very well either. They look really awkward.
No, yeah.
It looks so silly in this guy's hands. He's got some reach though. Like if that ever becomes part of the game.
After about 2 minutes, the guy tries to sit on it to flex it and stuff. It's funny. Oh, I see with the reach. Reach does matter. That was that's a decision you have to make.
Yeah, if you're not leaguer with that stick, Woody, and you're playing D, are you gonna ever make a pass that game? Or are you gonna skate backwards and go
right?
Like you're like a helicopter blade spinning around.
I played defense a lot, and I always thought it was an easy position. Yeah, I do. Well, one, I like the responsibility. I liked having, like something important on my shoulders. And I thought I did pretty well at it. The stakes were all, not stakes, but okay, look, when you're on offense, there's a lot of shit that you need to do right for it to work out for you. If I'm on defense, anything but that is a win. Like I could just swap my stick, fuck you up a little bit, and there it is. Your whole thing is blown. Like all I needed to do was knock it towards the boards, and now whatever opportunity you had has been all closed up and it's a mess. Mm-hmm. If I can just if I could take it from you and hit an outlet pass, I'm a star, and that just seems so much easier than
the expertise and precision that you need to like get in there while like juggling that puck,
right?
And do something with it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It seems like the guy who scores is a real. That seems so hard, especially because if you were the only guy on the ice who knew how to ice skate, it'd be one thing, right? But like, yeah, I'm a good skater, and nobody else is. Of course, you skate around, but everybody out there is a really fucking good skater. Mm-hmm. So like, I know that Wayne Gretzky is supposed to have been I guess he was, right? He's the world famous one. He's the one that everybody who doesn't even know anything about hockey knows about. But he was supposed to be really fast and really agile and all that stuff. I guess didn't you always say that like Gretzky's thing was that he had some big guy to like defend him and like nobody would lay hands on Gretzky because he was a smaller guy and they could have taken him off his feet, I suppose.
Gretzky, that definitely helped.
Some of the best
but he
players,
was so good.
It's like they see the play unfold first and just always make the right decisions. And I think I told you guys, maybe it was just recently, Lemieux came back And they were like, his patience is amazing. Oh my gosh, he's so patient. And you'd see players like fly by as he just waited there. So I tried that. It didn't last a period. It's like, oh, when I slow down, they just fucking strip the puck from me. What is his magic?
Just take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I am willing to wait here for 10 minutes. I can be more patient than any other player's ever been. But somehow that doesn't work out. Not at all.
Yeah.
And
I bet you'd see the same thing in like fighting, because like with there are a lot of fighters who are like, oh, look at him. He's not aggressing. He's sitting back and waiting, and he's calculating. And I can just imagine being a fighter and being like, oh yeah, that's what I'll do next time. I'll sit back and be patient. And the next thing it's just like ding, ding, ding.
Oh.
Why isn't it working? The spider does it.
Gretzky
That's like
saw the
what
play
you're saying, like
unfold.
Gretzky and Lemieux. It's like you're totally right. Like to what you were saying, I didn't play forward as much, but like you'd see them out there and just, Gretzky just would hang out behind the net with the puck, behind the opponent's net, and they'd come around and try and get it, and he'd be like, oh nope, good try though. Did you see my number? I'm number 99. I'm Wayne Gretzky. Like and, sneaking it around, and I always like you watch those clips and you're like, man, why didn't somebody else decide to just hold on to the puck behind the net for 30 seconds at a time? And then every other player, also in the NHL, tries to do that, and in 8 seconds at most, the puck's stolen. You're like, oh, that's why, because they're not Wayne Gretzky or Mario Lemieux. That's a big benefit. Yeah. Like I would say Gretzky and Lemieux are bigger as hockey legends than Jordan is as a basketball legend.
Never heard of Lemieux. No. So
I just mean, I'm saying by like records and never being catchable, because it seems like people are going to be able to catch Michael Jordan, right? Like I don't know enough about basketball. Correct me in the comments or whatever, but I feel like they talk about it like who really is the best. Is it LeBron? Is it Michael Jordan? Like people have real conversations like that. No one has ever, in like all seriousness, been like, Sidney Crosby is better than Wayne Gretzky. Like at the very least, you can say like, well, if he played in Gretzky's era, maybe he could have put up similar points. Probably not totally similar, but maybe like, I don't know. It just seems like he dominates that sport thing so much. Like who's the best?
Don't you wish you could make that happen? I hope that's the future. I hope we get to a future where they're like, who would win? Would Babe Ruth be a good ball player today? I don't know. We cooked one up though. He'll be he'll be 30 in a couple years now. We'll see. See how many dingers he can hit this time around. Like I hope we get to that point where we start bringing back people who have expired, because we've got DNA of a lot of old people. I'm sure I always hear about that. Who was it that had a bit of Lincoln's beard hair? It was Obama. Obama when I want to say when Obama took his oath of office, he had a tuft of Lincoln's beard hair in there somewhere, like in the Bible or something. There was something about that I read. Yeah, so we've got this DNA. We could bring back a Lincoln or a Babe Ruth or a Gehrig and maybe fix his disease this time.
How many tufts are there? Like, are they hidden around like Horcruxes, or is there just one?
Exactly like Horcruxes. They're protected. Different continents. There are 7. There are 7.
Seven of them.
7. Yes.
That's great. All right. Is that
probably a show?
Yeah, 132. That was cool.
Yeah.
Hey, all episode long, I don't think we ever said the T word. The current president. Didn't happen.
So, I didn't even know what we were talking about.
Yeah. That's just a thing.
My first thought was Tarasenko. That's where my head's at.
Yeah, I kind of had it because Kyle calls him Big T. All right, PKN 132.